so many religions today, but have you ever wondered which are the religions that the ancient people followed? Now, let's have a look at the religion in the Indus Valley civilization. Many cities emerged in the northwest parts of India in the plains of the river Indus around 4,600 years ago. This is also called the Harappan culture. Students, the Harappa was the region first excavated by the archaeologists.
The cities consisted of many kinds of artisans like potters, carpenters, gold and silver jewelers, weavers, blacksmiths, and so on.
The archaeologists found so many interesting facts during various excavations.
The ruins included baths, granaries, public buildings, roads, drains, and different kinds of houses.
But students, did you observe that there was no temple found in the excavations?
Several figures of mother goddesses and pictures of a male god was found. It is also believed that they worshipped several trees, including people, and also some animals, as they considered them to be sacred.
The male god was believed to be similar to Shiva, who was worshipped in the later days in the country. The other pictures point out that people of this region took processions with the banners to honor their gods during festival seasons. The Vedas are the earliest surviving literature of our country. There are 4 Vedas: the Rig Veda, the Sama Veda, the Yajur Veda, and the Atharvana Veda. The Rig Veda is the oldest of all the Vedas and was composed around 3,500 years ago. But what exactly are these Vedas about?
The Vedas were composed by rishis and they consisted of hymns and prayers for the welfare. The hymns were in praise of the different gods and goddesses.
Here's an exercise for you. Make a list of some of the important gods in Indian mythology and collect some prayers that are offered to them.
The 3 important gods were Agni, the god of fire, Indra, the warrior god, and Soma, a plant from which a special drink was prepared.
These hymns were taught by the priests to the students, who made them recite and memorize every syllable, word, and sentence with utmost attention. These hymns were mostly composed, learnt, and recited by men. There were only few hymns that were composed by women. But when did they recite these hymns?
The hymns were recited by the people during the yagnas or when sacrifices were offered to the fire.
Students, here's a hymn to Indra that will make us understand what the people in the early days prayed for.
Indra, please come and accept our offerings. Just as the hunter moves in search of prey, we too are going to war in search of wealth. Indra, please help us to win the war. O Indra, give us limitless wealth. Fulfill our wishes by granting us hundreds of cows.
Here's an exercise for you. From the hymn above and the hymns that you are going to collect, what do you think about the people in the early days? The Rig Veda consists of many prayers for cattle and for children, especially sons. The historians who studied the Vedas point out that the people in the Vedic period mainly reared animals like horses and cows.
The people in the Vedic period lived in the northwestern part of India. This is between the Hindu Kush mountains and the river Yamuna.
Students, do you know how the Vedic people lived? The Vedic people lived in small janas or tribal habitations which had their own leader. The sacrifices and hymns were performed by the priests who were called Brahmins. The leaders and the ordinary people in the tribes offered them gifts.
The tribes were often at war with the other tribes for water resources, and for control of cows and pastures. The horses were yoked to the chariots in the battles which were fought to capture the cattle.
These tribes settled in the villages on the banks of the river Ganga and Yamuna after some 100 years. The hymns were compiled in the Yajur Veda and the Atharvana Veda during this period. These hymns point out the way the kings prayed for power, for better crops and victory in the battles. In addition, they also show how the fire sacrifices lasted for many days and months and the amounts of wealth and animals that were used in such practices. Another important development during this time was the division of society based on the caste, and that women should be kept out of important roles. The society was divided into 4 castes.
The Brahmins were considered to be the highest caste and were expected to recite hymns and perform sacrifices. The Kshatriyas were the next, and they were expected to rule. The Vaishyas were another caste who tended cattle, tilled the fields, and gave gifts to the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas. The Sudras were the lowest caste, and they had to serve the people of the other 3 castes.
That was how the society was divided, and these ideas were not accepted and were argued by many.